Hello, welcome to attempt number 5 or 6 or 7 of me retrying to record a video for another update, because the last update I made was January 4th, version 0.1K alpha of SongCreator. Well, today I have update version 0.1V. So a difference of V minus K in whatever the integer value is of the letters from the alphabet. You know, like 1 through 26. So, what do I want to share? Well, above this is blah, 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 and an album announcement. Album title 3-dimensional, featuring 5 guitars with sheet music, sheet notation. Each song has 3 tracks, and each guitar has 3 songs. Total of 15 songs, 54 minutes. 3 months of writing, 3 months of recording. I consider it classical guitar with a mix of instrumental rock and symphony. And this is my second album number 2. I have a lot to say about from January 4th up until February 19th. And I don't know where to begin. I guess I can reference this album. As I said, 5 guitars. Each guitar has 3 songs, and each song has 3 tracks. Lead, rhythm, alt, lead. Left, center, right. Intended for headphones. So, I have open G, E standard, open E. And I list the song track list, noting the key and the scale and the guitar used for every song. And I note the difference of tuning. So I have 5 guitars, as I said, for the however many times I just said now. I have a Gibson SG, Evertune bridge, or actually it's a Gibson 61, and custom pickguard, Evertune bridge, and the second guitar is Fender American Ultra Telecaster, Butterscotch Blonde. You can't find these. These have been out of stock for who knows how long. Both the Gibson and Fender 2020 models. About February-ish. Just in time. Right when the... Don't want to get into that. So the third guitar is Charvel Dk22 Hss hot rodded humbucker single coil Strat style. I chose the Charvel over a Strat. I wanted a hot rodded, and you'll see why in the tracks. Number 2, Axe Murderer, in the key of F sharp, scale enigmatic, and the second scale, a new feature I had in SongCreator to switch between 2 scales. Second scale, key of A, scale melodic minor. And there's one thing I want to mention about this Charvel. You see the whammy bar? This is my first time with one. And boy, did it change the song. I recorded clean tone for this axe murderer, and I settled with something darker, heavier, distorted, crunched, however you want to describe. The other two tracks for the Charvel, I have track 5, Orwell, and track 13, A Bug Wrote This Album. So I could go track by track, but I don't really want to. But I wanted to point out this track 13. So essentially, the title of the song, A Bug Wrote This Album, is in reference to tracks 1 through 12 having a bug in the version of SongCreator that I used, which was something between versions. I think it's version. Well, I don't want to say for sure what it is without looking at the code, but January 4th, I had version 0.1K. Today, February 19th, I have version 0.1V. I recorded the album number 2 between late January to mid-February. So I had a version or two that I used for this album recording. And by the time I reached track 13, I found the bug in how... I don't know if I want to say what it is right now because the code is private. But it's something that is worth naming this track over. So tracks 13 to 15 had the bug not fully resolved, but work in progress. Actually, towards the end, I don't want to skip ahead too much, but towards the end, I kind of resolved the bug just yesterday. But I was hoping to do the same type of update that I did last month and go through each commit that I made in the SongCreator, provide some context. But the first thing I just wanted to do was announce that album. I don't really have a script to read at the moment. I'm kind of winging this. This is my 4th or 5th time trying to record this. But as you may know, I love the concept of sessions. Every time I record the guitar, it's in the concept of a session. I don't overdub. If there's a mistake in the session, I do my best. I choose the best recording of the session. I settle with that. And in this album, number 2, I took more time, so I did 3 weeks of recording and mixing. I actually spent more time listening, and I recorded some things that how do I describe? Let's just say I recorded some things based on some listenings after the recording was done. And context why I'm referencing this is because my first album back in December 21st, recorded in early November, released in late December. That first album, computer generated, I recorded in 3 days. So I could elaborate on that, but let's move on. So album number 2, like I said, is I recorded 3 weeks. I recorded late January to mid-Feb. It's done. I recorded and mixed that whole time. And it's submit for release on April 20th. Yeah, April 20th. And yeah, April 20th. And the title is 3-dimensional. There's a lot to say. I posted in, if you go to kyleliebman.com/podcast/songcreator.html, #3_dimensional_announcement takes you to that post. And I don't know if I mentioned already, but yeah, classical. It's kind of hard to keep track of what I'm saying through 5 recordings. And the listener that I have left, the one person I'm talking to for the if I still have your attention, I would like to share the commits now. So, January 9th. Look at let's look at the commits. So these are the commits after my version 0.1K, January 4th. My first commit after January 4th was January 9th. So let's look at the commit titles, not the source code, not sharing the source code. Source code's private. Added ability to have 2 scales, each taking half of song. I could actually demo that. So if you look here, see this button, add scale? If you look at this right here, so the file name and the song title. See, so the song title and the file name both take the format of key plus scale. So I update the key, I update the scale, song title and file name will both update to reflect what's currently displayed in each dropdown. See? So it changes to D, D sharp, F, it's keeping the same scale, G, but I change the scales change. Let's use a short one. So this first commit added ability to have 2 scales, each taking half a song. Well, that was my first iteration of this add scale. So now you see it added a scale, but after adding a scale, it chose a random scale after that. So the first scale that was added was the first one, and the second one is the one I'm currently on now, which will change, but I'll keep the first one. G dominant 7th is the first one, but I changed the second one. Second one changes. And I don't know if the commit references this, but this field is new, change scale. So this is how many measures to change scales between the two. Every X number of measures, it'll change from the first scale to the second, from the second to the first. Right now, just between 2 scales. So that's my reference to the track titles having 2 scales. So my track titles is in the format of key plus scale. And some of these track titles, I have 2 scales. So that's the new update that I added. But this was interesting because the save and load, okay. Yeah, the save and load feature, right? So the save and load feature, there's 2 features. They're both different. They both act different, but they both work together, right? They're dependent on each other. So save and load. 2, that's very interesting writing save and load because it's like writing the same thing in a different way. You have to save it, and then you have to retrieve what you saved. At least that's how I did it with Pickle. I didn't do a simple copy-paste object. I keep the same object. I just update every variable. And it's very interesting how I did that because I had to do a exec string command. And it's very technical, but it works. And so what was interesting with the add scale, changing scale, was when I saved and loaded, I had to write additional logic for the whole saving and adding scale. And I added even more logic. I will show you, I'll generate. The song was 2 scales. I added further logic to display when the scales are changed and what scale is chosen. In reference, if you look at this, I just generated this now. It opened on my second screen that you don't see. You notice the text. So it's writing every measure what scale it chose a notation on. And you notice change scale every 39 measures. Okay, so measures 1 through 39 will be G dominant 7th. Okay, and then bingo, right here. Measure 40 is F half diminished. So what's 40 plus 39? What is that, 79? So 79 should go back to G dominant 7th. Right there, bingo. G dominant 7th. So, yeah, there's that. So, what else? Let's go back to the commits. Added beat text to display scale transition. That's what I just showed, is having each measure note the transition and what scale is chosen. Bug fix. Save load doesn't transition add scale, but it's okay. If I really want to save load it, add a scale or do that manually. Added ability to save load songs with 2 scales. You know, it's a nice thing about programming is the nice thing and the bad thing at the same time is it does exactly what you tell it. And in some cases, you have to tell it everything. And I mean everything. Everything you could think of and everything that you can't. It requires it all. And it's fun. Okay, next commit. Grandparent directory folder including tunings for each measure as a folder. So essentially, I got tired of my folder. Like, I started diving into more tunings. So I wanted to have the folders saved. All right, let me try to see if I could find an example. Well, I don't know. I actually don't want to show my folder right now, but it'll save folder name with the tunings. Like, if I have the same scale, the same key and scale, it'll save in the parent folder based on the tuning. So the tunings I have as E standard, E standard, E standard, drop D, E standard, E standard, open G, E standard, etc, etc. For every single variation, it goes to 3 lead, rhythm, tuning. Then the folder, the subfolder of that is the key plus scale. No, yeah, this actually it goes tuning as the first folder, and then the subfolder of the tuning is the key or keys. Then the subfolder of the key or keys is the scale. I like organizing. So, okay, I want to sort by tuning first, then I want to sort by key first, then I want to sort by scale first. And inside the scale folder has, I covered this a long time ago, but every time you save, it saves the time and date so that way you don't override. Because there's, it's worth keeping every iteration. I'm very interested in keeping every iteration. I've literally wrote hundreds of songs just by clicking generate within a couple of seconds. The program generates unique ones every time. It's all algorithm. So, next commit. Grandparent directory folder include tunings for each measure as folder. Okay, I said that. Next one, randomize all button for priorities and MISC. This one is because I wanted to mix up the priorities, randomize all, so it'll randomize everything. Key, scale, not the tempo actually, but it'll change the priorities for the lead, priorities for the rhythm, priorities for the alt lead, which I'll come back to later. January 17th, change scale every X measure for V and 4.2V. Yeah, okay. That's what I covered earlier. Change scale every that. And then 4.2V2 chord is another chord I added right here, 4.2V2, which is a double stop, fourth string, second string on the same fret. So I have the double stop, fourth string, D string, B string, second string, 2 fret distances. I have that as version 1. So version 2 is same fret. Version 1 I have as a diagram. Version 2 I just haven't gotten a diagram. Commits on January 18th. Bug fix for adding scale, generating, saving, has to carry data, but for deletion and after. Bug fix for saving in grandpa directory of tuning. Added priority of focused frets based on times frets has been chosen. This is a huge update, and I tried to demonstrate it in this post. And yeah, I tried to describe it. Who knows how it came off, but I could try to verbally describe what the heck we're looking at here. So we're looking at 3 different variations, or 3, okay, there's 3 arrays, okay? 3 arrays that are 2-dimensional, okay? 2-dimensional in that there's it's an array inside of an array. Like, that's why you got 2 brackets. The first bracket is the first array, and actually I cut off the second bracket, but it's supposed to be a second bracket at the very end. So everything else is array inside of an array. So the first index, or index 0 of the array, is, as I put here in the post, fret number, and the second, or the 0 index is fret number, first index is times this fret has been chosen. So if you look, every fret has its own, what do you call it? It has its own, I'd say index, but that's confusing. It is index, whatever you want to say. Okay. So fret 0 has been chosen 0 times, fret 1 has been chosen 2 times, fret 2, 6, fret 3, 10 times. So if you look at this first batch right here, it's priority, which is what I try to describe here. Added priority of focused frets based on times frets has been chosen. Think about it. So priority, I programmed the notation to be priority chosen, okay? This number is the min priority. This is the max. This is the random. Oh, sorry, let me start. This is not the random. This is the reduced by. So each type of note has a random priority randomly chosen between the minimum and the maximum. And so that means the highest priority note gets chosen first if it fits in that time signature. So let's say the highest priority out of all of these randomly is this whole note. Let's just say best case it gets priority 89, even though you have quarter note with a priority max of 89, 16th note max of 96. This is random. Let's just say these both got the lowest, 45, 50. And let's just say same thing with dotted quarter got a 6, and the whole note got a 89. Okay, we're rolling with that. Okay, that's the best case scenario. The measure hasn't chosen a whole note yet, because if it has chosen a whole note, and if the time signature is 4/4, that means if there's already a note in there, then you can't add a whole note because the whole note is 4 seconds in length. So if the best quality scenario, whole note is 89 priority, you're choosing it in a measure with no note length set, and you choose a whole note, then that means you reduce by 51 priority. Okay, but the way I did the priority, okay, so it chose the whole note, reduced priority from 89 minus 51. It sets the priority to that. Then it looks at the highest priority after that and chooses a note. And that'll be the next measure where it'll choose a note, because the first measure is full with the whole note. And then it'll keep doing that. It'll find the highest priority. It'll remove it from priority. But I have additional logic that goes deeper than that. If it can't fit, then what I worked on recently, very recently, that I'm barely getting into the commits, that I haven't gotten there yet. But what I've worked on recently is a system where, how can I even begin to describe? Okay, loosely, I had a system where if you try to pick a note and it was greater than the time signature, like let's say you added a couple of notes. You're at let's say you're at 3.75 length. And I added something that you can prevent, or you can set the number of max total 8ths and 16ths. Okay, I think a dotted 16th is 0.25. Actually, I'm talking 32-second note, right? Because 16th is 2. I think, yeah, I'm talking a 32-second note. I forget the exact value, but I had to add logic where, because previously I had it incorrect logic. Okay, so I had my original logic that I know I'm getting confusing on referencing when, but this is most recent code I'm talking. Like, okay, most recent. Let me start over. Not all the way over, but let me just. I'm trying to talk about code that you can't see, but it's logic relating to choosing the note lengths for measures, right? And I had, up until a couple of days ago, I had logic where I called the function handle error. So if you try to add notation that's greater than the current time signature, then it'll go to this function handle error, which I wrote to delete the most recent added note, okay? And I had a second function after that where, okay, I said delete the most recent added note because it went through the whole priority. It couldn't find one to add. So I guess I have to go back and remove the previous one, because there's a rule when writing Guitar Pro notation that you have to equal the time signature length with notation. You have to. If it's 4 seconds, you have to match 4 seconds. You can't just write 3.75 in length. You need that 4 seconds full. So that's where I had to write logic that changes the logic that I had. The handle error is wrong. You can't. I had to write it so, let's say, it's multi-layered what I had to write. First, I had to write that if your notation that you want goes over, don't delete the previous note. Look for a note that would fit, but consider the notes that I've chosen, the note lengths here. These are the lengths that I've chosen that I want to play. So if I have to use a length that I don't want to play, force that note as a rest. No, I wanted it as a rest, but I couldn't get to work as a rest. You have to add it as a ghost note. So if the notation is unchecked, not here, it gets added now in new logic, most recently added a couple days ago. It gets added into a separate array. So this is one array right here. If you have it checked, it goes into a list of eligible notations you want. If you have unchecked, not listed, it goes into a separate list of notes that you will allow to be a ghost. A ghost is just another way of saying sustain. A ghost is just a way of saying sustain for the additional lengths, right? So definition of sustain, you let the note ring, but actually letting the note ring is another way of, it's another definition that might not be accurate, but I don't know, to me let ring is kind of the same as sustain, but let ring is kind of like a fancier way of saying it. Who knows? But it's different than staccato, right? So staccato. What am I even? I'm going all over the place here. It's hard to keep track of what to say. It's just so much. But let's get back to this picture. What I was trying to say originally was based on this commit, added priority focused frets based on times frets has been chosen. It's basically what it's saying is choose when it's considering to choose what fret to place the notes. I have logic that'll right here. I have logic that'll so the how it chooses what frets is, I told the code to stick to 4 fret distance, right? Always keep a track of 4 fret distance, all right? I don't want to go greater than 4 anytime ever. That's the way I wrote it. It doesn't ever go greater than 4. But it kind of seems like maybe it does, because like let's say you have your pinky fret on fret 10 and then the code says go down. So like pinky fret 10 is your 4th most finger, right? But then you move down 4 frets and it gets the 1st finger. So 6 through 10 would be the 1st fret distance. Then it can move down from 6 through 10 to, what is that? Let's see. I mean, you got to think about these things. So if each finger went 6 through 10, then that would be 5 through 9, right? So let's say it's possible to go from 10, which was the pinky fret 4, to the moved position to fret 5. So that's actually greater than distance 4, right? That's distance 5. But that's the worst case scenario. So that's another story. That's another setting that I did. What's it right here? Just the priority for the measures. The priority chooses the priority prioritizes closer frets over further frets. So this priority kind of considers that. But that's another story. I'm going all over the place, but it's kind of hard because this program is very, what can I say? There's a reason why it's a long-term project. And it's nice to share. So, next commit, rhythm error fix. Let's not have rhythm prioritize focused frets. I think that, okay, yeah, that was related to this. So that's what this picture is referencing right here. Inside the notation, I have move calculated, move random, move priority. So my first album, I had only, I think, random. Then eventually I added calculated. Then I switched to priority. So the difference is random is random. It gives you a list of eligible notes that are within the 4 frets that I'm currently looking at. And every X number of, I set to 4. So every 4 notes, if I find a note that's greater than this length, probably should be 1, or this length, then it'll move either it'll move calculated, random, or priority. So priority, this one I had the right because look, if you look at the notation here, the picture, calculated and random. Look at this, for example. This is what I was trying to describe. Look at the calculated and look at the random. Okay, first let's look at random. Let's look for the index 1 of the 2D array and look at the highest number. I see 28, 37, 34, 29. Look at that. So frets 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The random prioritize 3 through 7 only. And that's, look at, it's not even getting frets 11, 12, 13, 14. These haven't been played once. So it's stuck there. But let's compare those same 3 frets. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 3 to 7. And then compare that to the priority. Priority 3 through 7 is 10 times have been chosen, 15 times, 19 times, 21 times, 23. But look at frets 11, 12, 13, 14. Frets 11 chose 21 times, but look at the random. Frets 11 chose once. Look at priority. Frets 12 chose 15 times. Look at random, chose 0 times. Okay? Now let's look at calculated. Calculated, I tried to do the same as priority. Calculated is like move up or down dependent on how high or low I am on the fretboard. If I'm high, then go down. If I'm low, then go up. But it might not work the way I intended, because if you look, frets 1 through 4 chosen 0 times. But look at priority. Frets 1 through 4 chosen twice, 6, 10, 15. It's not the most, but it's certainly spread. If you look at priority, the priority one I added is spread more evenly upon the entire fretboard. Isn't that your goal, to use the entire fretboard? Why would you want to constrict yourself to a certain range and be stuck in that stupid range? You're limited. You want to do the whole fretboard as best you can, and trust me, it's not bad. Like, it's not bad in that you can control your own pace. You can control how fast, how slow. You can control the notes you want. I don't want to play no freaking 16th notes with 120 tempo. Do you know how fast that is to sight read? I mean, the great thing I like about this project, I get to learn so much by doing, what I'm sharing here. So, okay, next, slight default priority adjustment for leads. I just changed the default values. So if I go clear, make a new, let me restart the program. Default values. If I go to lead, I change the default numbers. So I kind of want to switch topic a little bit, and I want to dive into the track 13. A bug wrote this album. This was something I noticed. I think I said this already, but tracks 1 through 12 had a bug. And I want to say what the bug was. The bug was the lead priority was broken. How was it broken? It wasn't taking in these numbers at all. It was taking in the rhythm numbers, which means my save files from that version of SongCreator will only work with that version of SongCreator because version V has that bug fixed. And if I load those previous versions, I'm going to get different files or different songs because the code's different. But it is worth noting that every song that I recorded, I saved each SongCreator file. I saved each output of times the frets have been chosen for reference because I like to see the even spread. But let me go back into the comparisons or the commits. January 19th, every fret gets hit at least once. Well, to an extent, sometimes fret 14 or fret 1 doesn't, but fret 2 or fret 13 do. It just depends on the scale. The scale can be picky, but it considers it. Okay, version plus equals 1 because fret priority complexity. Yeah, shit's complex, yo. Okay, January 20th, fix rhythm recursion error. I had some error preventions that I added in that I was trying to fix. Rhythm chord bug fix. It was choosing a chord that I told it not to choose. How dare it? Slight tweak. Open E tuning. I had to import entire new scale. Open E. February 8th. Album number 2 is bugged. Huge priority bug fix. Was broken this whole time. But, funny story about bugs. They don't ruin everything. They just say, hey, this is where we're at. Handle error function for note placement may be messy or may mess up priority. Yeah, that's for rhythm. That's something I just fixed on the 17th or 18th. Complexity, because, because the ghost note. Okay, let me just put my head down my desk and speak from memory the code. I'm okay to speak it, and it's not going to show it. So, I have measure Kyle lead, measure Kyle rhythm, measure Kyle alt lead, Python objects with variables, self, length of notes, self strings, self frets, and the rhythm has self strings 2, self frets 2, self strings 3, self frets 3. And the strings frets arrays are keeping track of every frets, every string, each in their own array. So each measure has its own object, which is one of these objects that keeps track of every string, every fret, and the rhythm keeps track of 2 more additional strings of frets because you could have either 2 or 3 chord notes or 2 or 3 string notes, 2 or 3, compared to the lead and the alt lead, which only have 1 single note at a time. So the way the ghost note works is additional complexity in that you have to reference the previous measures. Well, you either reference, if you're not note 0, if you're not the very first note in the measure, then you reference the previous note in the measure. If you're the first note in the measure, then you reference the previous measure before yours. So all this time, you have to keep track of the index that you're currently referencing in relation to the previous measure and the previous note. So it's a lot of keeping track, not a problem. Lots of arrays, not a problem. Lots of two-dimensional arrays, not a problem. This is computer programming 101. If you take Java 1, you can play hockey. You can punch each other in the face and you'll succeed. Okay. February 8th. Apply and select a note and force as rest to fulfill measure length. This is big. I tried to mention earlier what this does. Essentially, you can have... I never use 30-second notes. So I added in 30-second notes to be rest because they're necessary to fill in the measure and sometimes. Okay. Priority including alternate unchosen lengths as force ghost notes, which update old data and string a fret with new data required to force ghost note. This is important. Woo woo. Doodly arm. Okay. This is meaning that when you do a ghost note, you won't believe how I found this because it got buggy without doing this. You have to... Okay, I forget the details without looking it up. You have to do something. You have to set the data, the old data, and update it. And it's complex. And it works now. I know it works. And I know why it didn't work. And I know it was a bug. And I know I squashed the bug. Bug go down. Okay, next. Priority including alternate unchosen. Okay, I did that. Rhythm hard-coded priority fix. Revert rhythm high. You never hard-code. That's the lesson learned here. Rhythm hard-coded priority fix. Revert rhythm hard-coded priority fix. Okay. Fix leads note, or fix leads last note and measure 32-second note not being ghost. So yeah, this bug was like, okay, I added 32-second note. Why isn't it a ghost? Now I got it as a ghost because I don't want to play 30-second notes. Who does? Okay. Lead, alt-lead, unselecting note adds into rest eligibility. Quick adjustment. And the most recent rhythm is ghost. 2-note, 3-note, fix, handle, error, allow, length, ghosts. Bam! A lot of work. And none of it which you can understand as a listener because this is all private code. But maybe it's some insight as to the notation that is included in my albums. And with that, album number 2, 3-dimensional, April 20th, 2022. 15 songs, 54 minutes in length. If you decide to listen, I recommend lossless audio quality, headphones, controlled environment. But you can have any which environment you want. Noise cancellation not required. It could be background noise. Totally up to you, dude. I just would like to have an idea of where to go next in this video. I covered a lot. I could be missing things, but I tried to get across a lot that I have been going through. And who knows? During my album 1 transition to album 2, I had to take a rest because recording an album is a lot of work. Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. There's a lot. There's a lot that it takes for an album. At least what I intended. Maybe this album is just for me, you know? It's a personal diary. It's a journal. And then this second album, three-dimensional, I really poured a lot into it. And I can see up to 7 albums right now. This is my second. I could see up to 7 right now. I don't know what after 7, but I could see 7. I have enough content for 7. At least, bare minimum. So we'll see how long I take a break from after album 2, and just stick around. I'm going to try to do something real quick to synchronize this video with the audio. 1 space 2 space 3 space 4. 1 space 2 space 3 space 4. 1 space 2 space 3 space 4. And thanks for sticking around for a video that had no script. See ya.